everybody, good morning. So this week in our Old Town Kids lesson, we are continuing our series on 6 Sundays of Stories, the parables of Jesus. And this week we are looking at a parable called the parable of the leaven. And in this parable, Jesus compares the kingdom of God to a leavening agent. And now if you don't know what a leavening agent is, it's basically yeast. Okay, it's something that we use in baking and cooking to make our dough rise. So you might have ever made dough or a cake and it was flatter, and then you added yeast or eggs and it rises up to be bigger after it's cooked. And so I brought some yeast with me today. And you might remember a couple weeks ago we talked about the mustard seed and how tiny it was. And yeast is kind of like that. There are all these tiny, you can barely even see them, they're like sand. These tiny, tiny grains of yeast. And so I thought, well, okay, so Jesus in this parable is comparing the kingdom of God to yeast, to what yeast does in dough, okay? It makes the dough grow, right? And so I thought, well, it's about time we do an experiment to see what that really looks like. So we are going to zoom in and I'm going to show you a little experiment so we can watch how the yeast, when we add it to water, makes the contents of my cup grow into much more than it was before, okay? So we're going to take a moment here and we're going to zoom in. Okay, so for this experiment, all we need is warm water and 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, okay? And this is a teaspoon of sugar. And now someone who's more prepared might have brought a spoon, and I didn't, so I'm just stirring it up with my finger, and that water has to be warm, but not too hot to touch. So we stir it up. We're gonna stir a little more. You can see a lot of that yeast on the side there. Gonna stir it a little more. And now that it's all stirred up, we are going to speed up this video for, this is gonna take about 10 minutes, but we're gonna speed it up so that you don't have to watch this cup for 10 minutes. And we're gonna see what happens. Yeast really grew, huh? Remember we had just that little bit here in this dish, and now look, you can see, if you look, the water is down at the bottom, and that yeast, it's just grown and grown, and the texture changed, so it's like a foam here. That's pretty cool, isn't it? When Jesus says in this parable that the kingdom of God is like a leaven, like a yeast, he's telling us that the kingdom of God is growing. That something small, a person, you or me, can turn into 2 people, and then 5 people, and then 20 people. That the kingdom of God is growing as more and more people learn about Jesus. As more and more people follow Jesus. So I hope you'll check out the parable of the leaven and this week's lesson at oldtown.cc/children. And if you visit our Facebook page, I will be posting there the instructions for how to do this experiment at home. And I hope you'll check it out. I'll see you next time. Bye.